Thank you. All right, so we're ready to get started in the interest of time. Welcome, everyone, to the virtual book launch of Is Grad School for Me? Demystifying the Application Process for First-Gen BIPOC Students. My name is Dr. Yvette Martínez-Vu, and I'm delighted to welcome you all today. If you don't know me, I am a grad school and productivity coach, consultant, author, speaker, and the founder of Grad School Mentoring LLC. I'm joined by my co-author, and I'll have her briefly introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miroslava Chávez-García. Everyone knows me by Miros. I'm a professor at UC Santa Barbara. I'm also the faculty director of the McNair Scholars Program. And along with Yvette, I'm the co-author of this book. We're so excited to have everybody here. What else could I say? I'm currently in Washington, D.C. at the UC DC program. So I'm teaching here this spring quarter and having fun. And this is great to see everybody online. Thank you for joining us.
All right, so we are going to cover a few things today. So we have a little less than an hour to let you know a little bit more about who we are and our backstories and what prompted us to write this book. We're also going to give you a preview of the book. So we'll show you what the table of contents looks like and walk you through what the book, how we decided to shape the book. We're also going to be reviewing and reading some excerpts and using that as a way to talk about some of the key takeaways from the book. And we've also invited a couple of contributors. These are folks that either we quoted them in the book or we included one of their sample essays. And they're going to have a few minutes to say a few words about either their grad school journey or what they believe this kind of book will have in terms of impact on future generations. And then we're going to have about 10 minutes for Q&A. And then just to keep you here so you don't log off too soon, we want to offer a book giveaway. I've got 2 books that I'm going to be giving out. It's going to be a random drawing at the end of today, and it is going to be 2 signed books. So please hang in there with us. Hopefully we don't go over time, but if we do, we'll try to keep it brief at the end to make sure that, if you want to be considered for the giveaway, you will be considered. All right, so let's keep going. And we're going to start with our backstories. And I'm just keeping it on the waiting room to make sure that we allow people to come in. So backstories. If I were to tell you to tell me the story of your life in under 5 minutes, would you be able to do that? That's what I'm going to attempt to do right now. So when I share a little bit more about my backstory, I usually jump straight into my grad school journey. It's something that I do a lot because of the work that I do. But I realize that it's also important to share a little bit more about what happened before I even got to grad school. So going back, way back to my childhood, I am someone who was born and raised in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley. I am a child of Mexican immigrant parents, one of 6, and the eldest daughter. And in terms of formative events, the first formative event that happened for me in my life was at age 12 when my dad suddenly passed away of a brain aneurysm. It happened completely unexpected and it turned our world upside down. And as the eldest daughter in my family, I had to take on a lot of responsibilities. I was parentified in some ways. I had to grow up quick. And that's something that deeply shaped me. The next thing that was a big kind of impactful part of my youth and of my childhood was getting involved in theater. And this is actually all thanks to my dad forcing me to audition for a theater show in 4th grade because I was one of those kids that was mute in the classroom. Some people didn't know what my voice sounded like, and he wanted me to break out of my shell. So he forced me, I was terrified, to audition, and I landed, lo and behold, I landed the lead role. This was in 4th grade, which started me on this path of continuing to do theater in middle school. And by high school, I was landing all the lead roles, except for anything that had to do with musicals, because I'm terrible at singing and I'm terrible at dancing. So that was something that by the time I got to college, I knew, okay, I majored in English literature. I minored in theater. I didn't think I could make a living off of theater practice. So I thought, what can I do next? And as I started exploring my options, I discovered undergraduate research. I was admitted to a program called the Mellon-Mays Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And I, with the support of that program, went on this path of, okay, I'm going to become a theater professor. That's what I thought was going to happen. But then, of course, I'm getting to grad school, and a lot of stuff happened for me in grad school, like I mentioned earlier. So there were three things that happened that were pivotal. The first was that I became a grad mentor, and I realized that I had a deep love and passion for service work. So I kept that in the back of my head. The second thing is that I actually burnt out really bad in grad school to the point of developing my first of what would later become several chronic illnesses. And that made me realize, hold up, I have to do things a little bit differently because my body is forcing me to slow down. And then that was kind of pretty pivotal. And I had yet another pivotal moment in grad school, which was becoming a mama. That was the single hardest, most empowering thing that had happened to me up to that point in my life. A lot of times I talk about how I experienced pregnancy complications, birthing complications. I struggled with severe postpartum depression. And I'm grateful that I had access to professional support services as a grad student because that's what ultimately helped me to recover. And so all of those things led to me finishing grad school and realizing, you know what? I don't think I want to become a professor anymore. And instead, I think that I want a job where there's more of an alignment with my values. And at that point, I knew I definitely want to do more service work. So I landed a job at a scholarship center, which later led me to landing a job at a McNair program. And then 5 years into that program, and actually around the time I met Miros, was when I decided to take a big leap, move abroad, start my business. A year and a half later, due to a lot of personal and professional reasons, including ongoing health issues, that brought me back to the US, where I continued to offer my services. So just to wrap things up, by the end of, my time coming back from Portugal, I decided I'm going to keep doing the work that I do, which is supporting first-gen BIPOCs in navigating higher education through my coaching and consulting services. And that leads me to now transitioning to having my co-author, Miros, to share a little bit more about her story.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I thought I would share just a few things. I found these photos looking through my archive and photos that have meant a lot to me over the years. Myself and the far left one is in Imperial Valley, where I was raised for a few years, and then the middle picture is with myself and my mother, and then the one on the right is with myself and my oldest child, Eli. So I think for me, what's really important, scrolling back the decades in terms of where I'm at now, I think the most important theme for me throughout my childhood and my young adult and now, I don't know what I'm going to call it, is uplifting the community, right? So this is what has been, I think, driving me for most of my life is community means different things to me. Uplifting the community, it's meant students, it's meant colleagues, it's meant people literally in the community, it's meant family members, it's meant a lot of different people that I've known throughout my life. And it's just keep the same sort of mission has been driving me in these different spaces that I've navigated in. And I think a lot of this, the idea of uplifting the community definitely was shaped in my formative years when I was a child. So I'm an immigrant. I was born on the border in Mexicali, California. Farm worker. My dad was farm worker. So very poor. So we came from poor immigrant farm worker origins. And that experience obviously was, I don't want to say limited. I was going to say limiting my worldview, but shaped a particular kind of worldview. And then at the age, we lived in Imperial Valley, and then we moved to San Jose when I was a young child. And then at the age of 12, I, like Yvette, did experience and also a life-changing moment. And that is when both of my parents died in a car accident. We were returning from Mexico from a vacation. We were returning and we were in an accident that took the lives of my parents and then also my grandmother who was with us. And my brother and I were the only survivors, so the only siblings. So needless to say, that was, again, very impactful for our lives. And so after that moment, I went to live with my aunt and uncle. And my aunt and uncle really focused on things that I had not heard so much of when I was growing up, and that is about education. My parents were very focused on education, but they were working all the time, primarily, predominantly Spanish speakers. But with my aunt and uncle, they really took more sort of emphasis with me in education and so forth. And within that household, my aunt who raised me, she was such a community person. She would literally give the shirt off her back for anybody. And just living with her and growing up with her, I just saw the kind of person that she was. And at that moment, when I was living with them, there's nobody telling me what to do, where to go. I asked myself, what do I want to do with my life? And I thought, well, I want to work for the community. I don't know at that moment, you don't know what it really means when you're a young person in high school. Like, what does the community mean? But I took that with me after I left my aunt and uncle's home. I went to UCLA undergrad and grad school. And that's sort of how things developed throughout. My mission was about, uplifting the community through different means. As a historian, I knew I wanted to uplift the community through our own history, having those role models being really important, having those mirrors in academic spaces, going to the library and finding books about your own history. Right, that was my purpose, is to get those voices, those ideas back into our community so that we could see that we were important to the society, to the US and in general. And throughout my career, no matter what space, so after I got my PhD, I became an assistant professor. I saw myself again in that same role, working with undergraduates. As I transitioned, I also then began to work with colleagues and helping them along their journey and so forth. So I just feel like I'm here still with my purpose is still uplifting the community, no matter what spaces they're in. So that's it. Okay. So I'm going to continue here. I'm a little bit outsourced. I'm here in DC in a very different space, but it's really cool to be in Washington, DC. But thank you. So these are our stories that sort of compelled us to work on this book project that has come about in so many amazing ways. And we've been talking with lots of people about it. It's been really exciting. So the book is really this guide that we wanted to provide for first generation first generation BIPOC students. So it's demystifying the graduate school application process. And we also provide a lot of other helpful insights and tips about how to go about doing that. And so the book in itself is a guide in terms of how you would approach that. So we thought, what we really did is to put ourselves in the position of somebody like ourselves who knows nothing, and how will we walk through that process, right? And so we decided to make it sort of simple in a way to understand, is to talk about it in three components. The first is the part one is about before applying, what you need to do and think about and know, and even think about whether grad school is for you. That's something that Yvette taught me. I always thought people just knew. And she really took someone who says like, hey, wait a minute, let's think about even if it's right for you. So that was a really important aspect of this first part of the book. The second part walks you through and talks you through the application process, providing sample essays, personal essays, statement of purpose, diversity statements, and talks about all the aspects that you need when you're applying. And then the part three is after applying, the things that you should think about, how you should get ready, plan, tips and advice, self-care, all these different topics within this sort of trajectory that you will have through this application process. And we also wanted to do with this book was to make sure that as we wrote our chapters and we organized the book, is that you can go to the table of contents as we're looking at here. And if there's something in particular that was interesting, you can go right to that chapter and have a whole sort of, scope on that particular topic and not have to rely on another chapter and so forth. So the chapters kind of stand on their own, but then taking together the whole book provides a very, I think, I would say, holistic and complex, understanding of this complex system, right? Yvette, Yvette has a lovely way of talking about this book.
No, it's great. Yeah, just in sum, it's organized in three parts. What you need to consider before even applying, what to do when you're actually applying, and what comes next after you click submit. And you can see here, I know this might be a little bit blurry since it's small font. Each of the chapters is organized based on that process. So I think you walked us through the book very well. And we're going to transition to sharing some excerpts of the book, unless there's anything else you wanted to share about the book, Miros.
Nope, I think that's good.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we have some excerpts you wanted us to share, and I wanted to read this. I'll begin. When considering applying to graduate school, one of the first things you should think about is whether graduate school is the right step for you in your career and life. To do that, you need to take time to reflect on your goals. Ask yourself, what is my current career objective? Is graduate school a requirement for this career? do I need an advanced degree to have access to and ascend the ranks of my intended profession? Besides academic training, what else do I hope to gain from a graduate program? What graduate programs have other individuals in my similar career trajectory completed? Is it possible to gain the necessary skills and resources without enrolling in a graduate program? What are the benefits and challenges of graduate school in my area of interest and/or discipline? Who are the people, that is, the femtors and the mentors who can guide me in my decision to pursue or not a graduate program? One of the things that we always say, I think with this book, or Yvette has said, and definitely it's like, this is the guy that wish you would have had. And, these are the questions, sort of like, you don't know what you don't know. And definitely going to grad school for me was very much, as I say now, fumbling in the dark. And so I think this guide is one of these, very much about helping through that process.
Here's another quote. So we have 3 excerpts, right? 3 quotes, one from each part of the book. So this is from part 2. We hope the variety of samples shared in this chapter below demonstrate both the flexibility and formulaic nature inherent in statements of purpose. Certainly, you must bring creativity, passion, and flair for communicating your research interests and personal determination. At the same time, you must demonstrate the training, preparedness, and strengths you bring and show how those align with those of the program. Your purpose is to show that you and the intended program are a good match. As we noted, the statement of purpose is often given the most weight in evaluating your application. To that end, we encourage you to make sure you cover the 5 essential components: introduction, previous research experience, proposed research, match with the program, and conclusion. With that winning combination, we're sure you'll be off to a great start with developing a solid foundation for your application. So here is an example of how we want to remind the reader that you don't have to do this alone. You also don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. And you can lean on the support of your greater community and also of the book with all the sample templates and statements to help you through that process so that the process becomes less muddy, more clear, more simple, and just less arduous. So we hope that that's something that comes across very clearly throughout the book. And here's another one. This is from part 3 of the book. Getting into graduate school is not enough to ensure that you reach your career and life goals. You must proactively work on your career over time by identifying your goals, values, mission, and vision in life. You must also figure out what skills are necessary for the fields and industries you are most interested in and best equipped to enter. Believe it or not, you cannot assume that your graduate program will equip you for and land you your ideal job after graduation. Even if it does, however, your career does not end with your first job. It is a lifelong process of strengthening old interests and discovering new interests, and then growing within one or more careers. The sooner you learn to focus on your own personal and professional development within and outside the institutions and structures you are part of, the more smoothly you'll be able to transition from one position or title to another. And here, the main takeaway is to remind you that you are responsible for your own career development, not your grad program, not your mentors and femtors. It's up to you. And because of that, we want to remind you that this is also not just, let me just apply to grad school and see if I get in. It's also, ooh, now I've got to do that deep, uncomfortable work of self-awareness and deep reflection to figure out, hold up. What do I actually care for? What do I actually value? Like, what am I actually good at? And how do I want to take those things to turn that into a career that's going to help me lead the life that I actually want, not the one that everybody else is telling me to pursue? So all of this to say is that we really hope that the book empowers you by reminding you, 1, that you're in control, and 2, that you have many options. A lot of times folks enter grad programs with very specific career paths and training, and they forget that you don't have to necessarily only focus on that career path, that if that career path doesn't work out, you have the training and the skills that can be transferable across many other jobs and industries. Okay, so now we're going to transition to hearing from some other folks, from some of our contributors. We have here Dr. Jamal Muwakil, Samantha Gonzalez, Abraham Soto, and Dr. Rosie Bermudez. And we're going to go in the order that's shown here. If each of you is comfortable, we would love for you all to show yourself, or like, what is it? Show your video if you're comfortable. And we're going to start with Dr. Jamal Muwakil first. And then after that, I'll call on Sam, then Abraham, then Dr. Bermudez. So Jamal, if you're ready, we're happy to hear from
Is it okay? Would it be okay to pin them? That way they can show
Yeah.
their face.
Do that. Let me stop sharing. And then let me go ahead and pin. Give me a minute. There we go. Okay, now we're good. Now we're ready.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm so excited to hear that this book is going to come out. I know it's been a labor of love for quite a while. And I know that it's exactly the type of book that I would have needed when I started my journey. It would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of soul searching. So I want to thank you for your efforts, Drs. Martínez-Vu and Dr. Chávez-García. It's going to be impactful for years to come over the course of many generations. So thank you. I've been invited to just share a little bit about my journey, and I'm hoping to kind of tie in some of the themes that you kind of articulated as it relates to the book into my journey, how I made sense of them, and how that might relate to the content of the book. So I'm originally from Compton, California. As a plan, I always like to encourage people to rep their city, because we all come from magical places, and so we should be proud of those and let everybody know. So a SoCal guy, public school, all the way through. I'm sure I share the same story and being told like you're smart and you should like go to college. And one of the frustrating things that I came to find was that discourse, while encouraging, meant to be edifying, doesn't always have a follow-up to the question of like how and why and for what reason and what is that supposed to do, right? But again, God bless the context. Folks don't know. If you're a first generation college student, you're like, I don't know nothing about that. But if anybody can go with you, then you should. Good luck out there. So it's motivation, but logistics are missing, right? And so as a function of that, out of high school, I literally didn't have any idea about how to even take advantage of the acceptance letters that I got. I didn't know how to do college, and I didn't have anybody to ask. And so I thought that if I was going to fail and guess my way through, I may as well do so with as low a cost and as close to home as possible. So I started my journey in the community college, the California Community College. Started at Cerritos, worked my way through a lot of different community colleges, ending up over the course of a 10-year journey, transferring from Los Angeles City College into UCLA. Shout out to CC grads indeed. And at that point, there's another step of kind of understanding, right? This idea of like, you did it, you made it, yay. At this point, even as you're like, you've transferred, like you're like maybe one of the most highly educated members of your family at this time. And everyone's so proud. It's all very exciting. You still have no idea what's going on, what the space is, what the opportunities are. But you're being encouraged. And that's, again, I want to make sure that I clarify it. That's good. We all appreciate the encouragement, but it's really helpful to pair that encouragement with logistics so that we know what to do to effectuate an aim that we're looking for. I had the great benefit of having access to the Melanese Undergraduate Research Fellowship, at which time Professor Martínez-Vu was my graduate student mentor in that moment. And she really helped to answer a lot of those specific logistical questions about what it means to go to graduate school, what it means to be a professor, what opportunities you might take advantage of in order to kind of get into that space, and what doors that opens, always with the caveat that there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat, as it were. So, if I've learned nothing else from my journey going through and then completing graduate school this past June, where I'm currently a postdoc at UCLA in education, it's that just understanding what the opportunities could be and how to do the things can save a lot of time on the guesswork. And my encouragement is that everyone, even if you've been told that you're the smart person, you're being expected to know things, it's okay to not know. Uh, and you're not alone and you're not knowing. Reach out to the resources that you have. Yvette was a resource for me in the time that I needed it, and her input made all the difference to me. And I've continued that practice, and that's made all the difference. So it's okay to not know, but it's not okay to stay not knowing. Reach out, engage your resources, engage your logistics, and then build from there. And then you can be a resource to people coming up behind you. Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentation.
It's okay to not know, but it's not okay to stay not knowing. Ooh, somebody type that up for me, for us. Thank you so much, Jamal, Dr. Muwakil. I appreciate it. We're going to transition over. I'm going to remove the pin and add a pin to our next speaker, which is Samantha Gonzalez. Go ahead and get started when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Samantha Gonzalez. I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to rep my city, just like Dr. Jamal said. And I'm a first generation college graduate. I graduated from grad school with my master's in education in 2021, not too long ago. And I also work closely with Dr. Yvette as her intern for grad school mentoring. So if you received an email from me or any communication, I thank you. And for today, what I wanted to bridge together was using this resource in my career as a higher education professional. So professionally, I work with our local students in the high schools and help them access their education at Nevada State University. And one of the requirements for our program is to be a first generation college student. And something that I really admire from our first gen students, and something that is talked about in chapter 3 of the book, is their aspirational capital. So they are really amazing at dreaming big, shooting for the stars, and they need help logistically, sort of like how we were just talking about, how to get from point A, where they are right now, to point B, being their dream, right? I even had a student in my office yesterday, and he said, I want to be a surgical oncologist. And he's a first year student. I've known him since he was in high school. And already I'm thinking of the logistics. How can I support this student? So I'm really excited to have this resource available to give to the student, to say, hey, I might not know the answer, but collectively, here's a lot of resources that can help you. And what can you do now as a first year student to help prepare for eventually applying to grad school? So that's something that I'm really excited about, just it being an accessible resource to our first gen population. And I also think it'll be timeless, just knowing some of the chapters that we got to preview today, some of the quotes that we saw. It seems like this is information that won't go out of date anytime soon. And then personally, I wanted to be involved in this project just because I really believe in the value of what this resource will do for our communities and how it has the ability to transform lives. So that's really exciting. My last call to action will be, as if you're involved anywhere, whether you work at a university, a college, or if you use your local library, just requesting the book at that library, just so it can be a free resource to students or just the public there. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it along.
Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate your support and just you highlighting the impact that the book can have for future generations. And the fact that you said it, that it's information that is not going to be out of date anytime soon. So now I'm going to go ahead and pin our next speaker, contributor, which is Abraham Soto. Give me a minute. All right. Feel free to get started when you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abraham Soto. I am a second year MPH candidate here at UC Berkeley. So I'm reporting live from Berkeley. Um, and I'm originally from LA, so I grew up in Willowbrook, which is really close to Compton. So when I heard Compton, I got excited to see people from, where I grew up being in this panel. Um, yeah, so I was a UCSB McNair Scholars. Dr. Yvette was there when I was in McNair Scholars, and Dr. Miros was there. So they really were instrumental to my journey to grad school. When I first got to UCSB, I was really I felt like isolated in that experience in my freshman year because I had a supervisor who was very, um, I'm just gonna say discriminatory. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm very discriminatory towards me, and I had a hard time like seeing if academia was a place for me. So I was struggling to like convince myself to stay in academia. But when I came across McNair, and I remember when I shared this experience with Dr. Yvette, she was one of my interviewers. She was very supportive and understanding. And when I joined McNair, I feel like I finally found a place to like be supportive and supported. And I think that a lot of the things that I learned from McNair, I still carry with me today to graduate school. I'm an MPH candidate, so I study public health, and I'm actually currently a mentor now for undergrad students. Um, and I contribute that kind of like discovering that I enjoy mentorship to Miros and Yvette for their help getting me through undergrad and getting me to grad school. And I am also a graduate student instructor for uh, a class where we have a lot of underrepresented students who are interested in grad school. So I think I just wanted to say that to highlight that definitely that they hold a lot of knowledge in the application to grad school and supporting students. And I've learned a lot from them. So I'm pretty sure that the book will have a lot to learn from and a lot of information that can help future students like myself um, continue learning and spreading that knowledge to make them more accessible. So thank you for inviting me to speak.
Thank you for joining us, Abraham.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Also, really happy to hear that you're also mentoring others on, along the way. So thank you. Let me remove the pin and have our next speaker come up. And our next speaker is Dr. I want to say Rosy because my mom's Rosy. My daughter's name is Rosaura. Dr. Rosy Bermudez. I don't know. Is it Rosie or Rosy or both?
Mhm. It's both, but Rosie,
Go ahead when you're ready.
thanks. I really appreciate this invitation and the opportunity to share. And it's great to hear from the other contributors. I just want to start off by saying that the power, I think, of this book is really rooted in the desire of the co-authors. I guess you could say purpose, right? To create a pathway for first gen students of color, for low income students, for underrepresented students, not just because of the need for this book, right? And how important it is, but also because of their own personal deep knowing as first generation Chicanas who have navigated higher ed. And also their awareness of the several factors that play a role in either limiting student of color success in higher ed or achievement in higher ed. And I agreed to be a contributor because I am deeply aware of the impact role models and mentorship can have on first gen students of color, low income students, and their success in higher education. And I felt compelled to include an aspect of my experience, even if it meant making myself vulnerable. So the quote that is included in this book is actually from a personal statement that I wrote as a second year grad student at UC Santa Barbara, and it was for a pre-doc fellowship, the Ford pre-doc fellowship, which I was awarded the second time I applied for it. So if you don't get it the first time, try again and then try again and try again, right? So in the excerpt, I share about my experience of growing up in poverty, the struggles that my family endured as a result of the death of my father due to his alcoholism, and then me slipping into the juvenile justice system. So I wasn't the smart kid in high school in the sense that I didn't even go to a traditional high school, right? I was, in essence, pushed out of junior high in the 8th grade. And then when I returned to school, I returned to high school, but it was in the juvenile system, right? So this really, the statement was really not just about my experiences, right? And how the struggle, that was really about how I overcame that. And actually how those experiences served as a well of knowledge for me in the continuing of my studies. And I think I just really want to say that this book is so important. It's so pivotal now as an assistant professor here at UC San Diego, a place that I never thought would have been possible for me, but it was because of the modeling and also the mentorship, especially of Professor Miroslava Chávez-García, who was my dissertation chair. Thank you, Miro. If it wasn't for your support and your mentorship, it wouldn't have been possible for me. And so grateful, so grateful. And I know that when students have access to this book, it's going to just inspire them so much to see themselves reflected, not only in the experience of applying to graduate school, but also seeing that they belong in these institutions and they're able to create change and to further the pipeline, to diversify the pipeline into higher ed and into the professoriate. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Rosie. They're very heartfelt words. You feel them.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share, and let's actually give them all a round of applause, all 4 of them, a virtual, or if you want to. Yeah, thank you.
Yay. Awesome job.
I'm going to share screen just so you can see the last slide. And then we will go ahead and transition to Q&A, and Dr. Miroslava Chávez-García will facilitate that. But just so that you know, you're welcome to participate in the Q&A by asking us questions. If you unmute yourself, you can also directly either share in the chat for everyone to see or message me privately, just one-on-one, and I can ask that question aloud anonymously if that's more comfortable for you. And just a heads up, if you want to order the book, is gradschoolforme.com, okay? So, yeah, let's get to the Q&A, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen so that those of you that are comfortable going and showing us your faces, going off, being whatever you call it, showing your
On
face.
screen.
There you go.
On screen.
On
knew that.
screen. That's the word I was looking for, that brain fog. Okay, so let's stop sharing the screen. And anybody who wants to join us, you're welcome to join us. And actually, we might, if you're comfortable, maybe we can take a group photo. Is this a good time to do that? What do you think?
Sure. Everybody's, well, not showing their lovely faces, but.
Are folks down to
No,
take
wait.
a photo? Oh, I love it. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, they're still good. Everyone's like fixing their hair.
Okay, so
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Isidro, my student. Isidro and Laura, my other student there. Corner.
Okay, I see some familiar faces. If anyone else wants to join us, take like 10 more seconds. If anyone needs to.
Go ahead, dude.
Oh, I see so many faces. Okay,
And Laura.
before, yeah, let's
Come on, Laura. We see Gray.
see one more person joining us, another person joining us. Okay. It's 5, 4, 5, 4,
Oh,
2, 1. Okay, we can take a picture if everybody's here. I see Laura.
there's Laura. Mhm.
Everybody good? Thumbs up if you're ready for a photo.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me move this. I wonder how this, sorry, my caption is blocking someone's face, the captions. So I'm gonna just hide the captions for a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna take a screenshot. 3, 2, 1. One more time. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you for bearing with us. Gotta take a second one just in case someone closes their eye or eyes. Okay, so now we can transition. If you want to go back to being off camera, that's completely fine. And if you have questions, feel free to share in the chat or unmute yourself either way. And you can ask any of us questions, including the contributors. That's completely fine.
I went ahead and scrolled to the second page. I don't know if you're, so I took a picture of that as well. 'Cause there's some people on the second page. Yeah, got that. Yeah, we'd love to take questions. Is there something in the chat? Let me see here. Okay, you're so cute. That's not a question. That's an affirmative. Thanks, Rosie. Any questions?
Comments, reactions are also welcome. If you have any thoughts or anything else that you wanted to say in relation to the book or your relationship with us or the folks in the audience.
I do want to say, though, it's great to see people from all these different spaces. So, but Bella, yes. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi,
real quick?
everyone. Yes, my name is Isabella Restrepo. Miros was on my committee for my dissertation. I wrapped up last summer. And yeah, a couple of comments just about how powerful of a mentor Miros is and how excited I am to read this book because you were instrumental in getting me through grad school and in, helping me land the position that I'm in now. I'm really excited for this book. I really wish something like this existed when I was applying to grad school. I think it's a really powerful tool. And yeah, I'm really grateful that y'all wrote this.
Thanks, Belle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi,
Sarah.
I'm Miros. I'm Sarah Chernev from UCHRI and wanted to thank you for this talk and the book I have here. And I've been reading it and I love it. And I wish I had it when I was applying to graduate school, just kind of echoing everyone's thoughts. And I wanted to make a small plug that we're actually hosting Miros and Yvette and another UC Press author for a May 1st event. So I just dropped the link in the chat. It's open to everyone. So there's going to be a conversation about writing the book, and I'll be in touch with both of you about that soon. But May 1st, if anyone's interested in learning more.
Thank you. Oh, Joka?
No, I just want to echo what Bella and what everybody else has said on this panel. Like, I am just so excited that this resource exists. For those of you who don't know, I know Yvette because I used to be the McNair academic coordinator or program coordinator, I think the official title was. And then I know Professor Miros from our department because I'm in the history department now. But it's just like so wonderful to see like people who've gone through McNair, like in like, I don't know, like in this grid and stuff, and see how much like the work that McNair and Yvette and Miros have put through and all the lives that you've touched, like now encompassed in a book. And now it's going to be able to help an entire generation, like multiple generations of people who you might not meet, but who you will continue to like, I don't know, just like touch their lives and stuff. And I echo everything that everybody's saying. Like, I feel like if I had this resource, it would not have taken me this long to enter or like finish my undergrad and graduate degree, or I'm not done with my graduate degree, but whatever. And also like, I don't know, it would have just like saved me a lot of headache and heartache and lots of my mental health and stuff. So I'm very excited to get a copy of the book and to just read this and just share it with everybody that I see. So thank you guys for all this work. And I'm sure that it was a really emotional and difficult process, but I'm so glad that now it exists. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you so much, Joka. I know you had to stay up late for us. You're on the other side of the globe, so I appreciate you coming.
It's worth it. I would not have missed it. I'm so excited for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for your enthusiasm. It's really appreciated.
I do see a question here in the chat about whether or not we're going to do an in-person book launch.
Oh.
Maybe.
Yes.
Nothing is confirmed. Some thoughts have come up. If we do, we'll probably aim for LA or Santa Barbara, but we don't know yet. So we'll keep y'all posted. In fact, I have y'all's email. So if I have your permission, I'm happy to email you all to let you know if we do an in-person event. And I see some nods. And go ahead. I see another hand raised.
Jamal, yes.
Thank you again. And yeah, I didn't realize how many familiar faces I would see on the calls. A testament to the good work that you all have been doing. I have a question about you uh, how you made the transition from going from like this book in concept to like actually deciding to like write it. I know we always have a lot of good ideas that sometimes get left in the good idea lane. Can you talk about your process and experience of transition from idea to text?
I'll let Yvette answer since.
How did and you're this book couldn't have happened if it hadn't been for Miros asking me when I was going to write a book. Is that not right?
Yep, that's how it. But it was, I'm the kind of Jamal. Yeah, the idea. Wouldn't it be great too? Every time would come home in the mornings and listen to my podcast, I'm going to go do this. I mean, that's like an hour later. Okay, I'm not. But yeah, it's sort of weird. It's just how I don't know the word weird, but we just kind of came together and like we both brought different sets of assets. We both brought our own assets and it made it work together. We just clicked really well. The other metaphor I've used is like, two pieces of a puzzle just Yvette and I, in terms of even how we work together in terms of and how we write, how do we approach this process. It's just so fair, and I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm like, Yvette did. I think we both feel like, I don't know, it's just very compatible. And, using my strengths and using Yvette's deep knowledge in the field, it just works really well together. But that's probably not a very good answer. It's very, very general. But go ahead, Yvette, if you want to say.
That's where I come in. This is where I'm telling you our strengths. So I'm thinking if you're asking me like, I'm thinking you're asking me, how do I write a book? And I'm thinking about the answer to that as this wasn't something that happened overnight. We've been doing this work for over a decade. So we knew a lot of the information. We just needed to put it down on a page. And so when Miros asked me, I felt like at that point I had been ready because I had had the podcast, I had had the experience, and I just needed that push. And to actually like get our butts together of doing it, we needed that accountability. And nothing holds you accountable more than knowing you have a meeting with an editor of an academic press who's going to ask you to pitch the book for them. And you're like, oh, this is just an idea. Now I have to actually conceptualize it. And then after that, oh, now I have to come up with a table of contents and an outline. And oh, now I have to write a book proposal. And so a lot of times we are not taught every step of the way of like, you got to reach out to editors, you got to pitch yourself and your idea. Eventually, someone will be interested in you. Cross our fingers. Someone is interested, asks you to write a proposal. They review the proposal, give you feedback. If it's accepted, then you get a contract. From the contract, you start to work on the book. And we had done the work to the point that it took us 6 months to write the book from beginning to end. April to October, that was the timeline. But we pulled from the stuff that we already had. We pulled from my podcast. We pulled from our resources. We pulled from what we knew. So it didn't feel like we were starting from scratch. I hope that answers your question a little bit more. Yes? Okay. That was a great question. Thank you for asking. Any other questions?
Yeah. Thanks for that comment. Somebody put, now you're going to have to write a book on first gens writing a book. Yeah. I mean, I've done this a lot, and people know, like I've published a lot of articles, not books, on this topic, like how to write or how to publish an article, how to do this, how to do that. 'Cause that's part of my idea of giving back to the community. And Yvette so beautifully names it, femtoring, which is what she's taking to another level. And I think that is, and so for me, this book was a great opportunity to bring all those different pieces together that I had put out there in these different ways, and put it together in a book. I have other ideas, but I'm not sure Jamal's, I'm not sure what will happen. But having Yvette, it was just different. I'm not used to co-authoring. As a historian, we tend to write on our own. And this is a different book. It's not an academic book per se. It's just a little bit, so it was also an unknown territory for me. So a lot of learning along the process. And this is what I wanted to get my voice out more through this kind of a medium where people actually will read it and not sit on a shelf collecting dust. And so we really hope this is another reason why I went to grad school.
And you know what? I am not opposed to coming up with a resource about like showing other first gens how to write a book. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the different publishing processes, not just within academic presses, but also trade press and hybrid presses and self-publishing. And I still we both have ideas for our next books, for sole authored, perhaps another co-authored book. There's a lot. And one of the ways that I've started with sharing resources is through the podcast. So Miros and I released an episode on how to publish an academic article. So that's there for folks who are like, okay, I got to publish and I want to know how. Miros walks you through, based on her expertise, how to, from beginning to end, work on publishing an academic article. And we're thinking part 2 of that episode will be how to publish a book with an academic press. And hopefully later in the future, once I learn more and feel comfortable enough, I can show folks like what's the process of self-publishing, going with the hybrid or trade press, because I really do believe we all have at least one book in us that we need to release into the world, because we never know like who needed to read that book to keep going. Yeah.
Right. And of course, I would recommend everyone to listen to Yvette's podcast. Of course, there's all the other parts. We're not talking too much about the love and the pain points that go through writing, right? All my students are probably shaking their heads. Miros is just telling it too easy, like just write. So all of my students who are here have told me in the past, giving me feedback on my process. But yeah, writing is tough. I mean, right? You see little Laura and Rosie. Rosie's the one who said, Miros, tell me something good about my work. I'm sorry. But look at it. It's amazing, Rosie's work. It's just pushing everybody's work to be that much stronger. So. Are we going to do that giveaway?
Unless
is there any more questions? We want to hear from people. Yeah.
Comments. We do have a few minutes to do the giveaway.
Oh,
thank you so much for the comments. I got a direct message from someone saying, I don't have any research experience. I've been a counselor for a while and like, I want to read the book. And I just want to let you know, to that person, you know who you are. You can get into grad school without research experience. Read the book, message me, like we'll get you set up with the resources. If you really want to go to grad school, you shouldn't let that be the hurdle that gets in your way of getting there. Okay, I feel like this is the right time for the giveaway. Yes. Woo, woo.
thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna ask Sam to help us with this. I asked her if she could help us by doing the little giveaway wheel so that we can live show you who of the 2 lucky winners get a signed book. And yeah, here we go. If you're here, you get the book. If you're not here, if you don't say I'm here, sorry.
You must be present to claim the prize.
Here. So go ahead, Sam, when you're ready.
Awesome. And we grabbed this list from the Zoom RSVP, but I also added anybody else who's in attendance who I didn't see. So everybody should be on there. And we're going to do it 2 times. So for the first book, Lisette.
Are they here? I saw them earlier. They might have left.
Lisette here?
Oh,
Yes, Lisette is here.
I heard the wahoo, or I saw it. Felicidades, Lisette, Doctora Lisette Sanchez.
just
All
hold
right,
on.
one more time. Is Guinevere here?
I don't think Dr. Genevieve Negron Gonzalez is here. She messaged us earlier saying she had to go to office hours.
Okay.
Let's aim for one more person. Sorry, Dr. Genevieve.
Although she was here. But...
She was here.
Ooh. Christina Vega was here, definitely.
I'm here.
Yeah. She was so enthusiastic. She deserves a book.
She's like, oh, hell no, I'm here. I'm here. Yes. Congratulations to Dr. Lisette Sanchez and Dr. Christine Vega for getting a copy of the book, a signed copy of the book. I will be reaching out to both of you to get your addresses so that I can mail it your way. Okay, well, that brings us to the end, right on the dot, too. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for supporting us, and Yvette for your wonderful organizing skills, and everyone who we know in the different ways. So it's really cool. Appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.